Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Wellbeing Gets Real Conversations. I'm Charlotte Jamison and I am here with Chris Mayo. Is that right?
Hi. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Chris Mayo, like the mayonnaise, but the short version.
Just like, hang on, have I got that right? Um, thanks for having this chat, Chris. So you are the father of two little boys, and you have your own business. This might be a little time actually. Do you want to plug your own business? It's coming up to Christmas. Let's give it a bit.
Sure. Sure. I've got a little business called the Pizza Oven Store where we sell everything, small little pizza ovens all the way up to big restaurant pizza ovens and all the tools and accessories. So if you like pizza and you like making pizza at home, then we've got a lot of the items that you need to kind of up your pizza game.
And I've had the pleasure of eating your pizzas, and they are phenomenal. And even what was my daughter's? She was like, "Oh, this is like a real pizza. Like this is like restaurant pizza." No, it's delicious. Definitely worth the investment. Excellent. So you've got your own business. So it's life is pretty full on for you guys. What are the things that keep you grounded? What are the few things that really help you stay on top of your game?
So in terms of the three things or just generally?
Yeah, just in terms like any sort of well-being habits that you do
Um,
that keep you vested.
Yeah, so I mean, the first one I think is just exercise. Really, that's something I do every day, and it's always something I try and do in the morning if I can, as soon as I get up, or if I haven't gotten up early and I spend the time with the kids. But then it's always something I try and do at least before lunch is to go out and either go for a surf or go for a run or do something which is going to get my blood pumping around the body, and that's kind of sets you up for the rest of the day. And I find it really fulfilling to do that first thing in the morning. I mean, you can do it late at night, but I think it's kind of it's not as effective if you do it first thing in the morning. So that's something I really try and do, especially living on the beaches with the surf and the water and just getting out there. If it's a beautiful day, then you can't really be setting up your day by going out in the water and kind of baptizing yourself with some fresh ocean spray.
It absolutely is a baptism, isn't it? It's sort of,
Mm,
any worries or any gump that you've got, you just like dive in that water and it kind of takes it from you. I
that's right.
I, I feel it too. But exercise in the morning is really good because two things. It's you're more likely to stick to it because if you sort of say, "Oh, I'll exercise at nighttime," invariably, you've eaten too much or you've got a social event or something like something pops up and it just stops you from doing it.
That's
So
right.
and then if you exercise too late at night, which I know that you kind of do sometimes to fit it in, because you're one of those maniacs who actually stick to like your
I do. I've been known. I've
routine.
been known at 10 o'clock at night to go for a jog, out into go down to the beach and go for a jog. And
Yeah. See,
wife
I
looks
think
at me and walk
that's
out the door.
well-being gets extreme, not well-being gets.
Yeah,
But I think, but sometimes if you do exercise too late in the afternoon, it does start to impact your sleep. So with hockey, I'm in a little five-a-side comp, and sometimes we have 8 o'clock, 8:30 matches, and I come home and I'm wired. I just cannot sleep. I need to have like a 2 hour kind of wind down. So
that's right.
yeah, exercise in the morning is really, really beneficial for sleep, but also you're more likely to stick to your routine if you do it. But how
Correct.
do you wake up crack of dawn, like before everyone's up, or you have an agreement with your wife, or how do you work that one?
Um, Normally it's about going to bed early enough. I think that's the key. If you can't get up, you can get up early if you go to bed late, but it's just again it's
Yep.
detrimental to the next day and the day after. So I've
Yeah.
got a thing where I try and go to bed before 9:20, so I'm asleep by 9:30. Normally that's kind of the if I want to get up early, I know there's a 9:20 that is like the effective time for me to get into bed, and then I've got 10 minutes to try and sort of, just calm in bed and then go to sleep. And then I set up an alarm to go to bed at sort of about 4:55 a.m. and then
Oh,
that gets me
okay.
up for five, and then I'm out
Okay.
the door kind of
Yeah.
thing. But me
Yeah.
and my wife balance. We she sometimes goes and does yoga at 6 in the morning, and
Yeah.
we've tried to do me out the door at 5 and back by 6, and then she's out by 6, back by 7 kind of thing. It all gets a bit hectic, but we do try it sometimes.
I think you got to try these things. But I love how you said the morning routine actually starts the night before, because that's, yeah,
Mm,
so much truth in
100%.
it. Excellent exercise. And then what's another thing that you do? You make sure.
Um, so I mean, sleep, that we've just touched on sleep. That's the biggest one. After exercise or before exercise, because arguably the sleep is where you restore to give you the ability to go and do something like exercise. So
Mm.
focusing on sleep is probably is up there, top two things that I do, knowing that that sets me up for everything else.
Yeah. Not only
And
does it repair muscles, but it also, cleans out the toxins in your brain and helps
yeah,
stabilize your chemicals for food, and like whether you start to have hunger pangs because of the
mm,
adrenaline and all that sort of stuff. So I know there's so much in sleep. And you know what? Pretty much every conversation I've ever had, everyone talks about sleep. It is just vital.
it is. And if I don't go to bed early, then I
Yeah.
still don't. I still try and give myself 7.5 hours of sleep if I can. If sometimes the when Karina, my wife, does go out to do
Mm.
yoga, the kids are, I don't know what they're up to, but I'm still sleeping, and they're doing normally constructive things. They're 6 and 8, so they're kind of on their own, but they're not burning the house down. But they're normally doing Lego or drawing or something. But I'm often still asleep
Yeah.
because I'm trying to get my 7.5 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
unless I get woken up by some fight or something that's going on in the lounge.
I know. I know. You got to, yeah, it's always good to have the intention.
That's it.
Okay. So we've got exercise, we've got sleep. And what's another thing that you might have?
Probably the biggest one for me personally has been reducing my intake of alcohol. That's
Mm.
probably something which I've gone, I wouldn't have said I'm sort of alcoholic previously, but just drinking normally at weekends quite heavily, and sometimes writing off a whole Sunday or a whole Saturday because I've gone in at 4 or 5 in the morning or something, or
Yeah.
and then like a quiet Tuesday night that turns into 8 beers, and then the Wednesday's ruined or something. So that's about a year and a half ago. I stopped drinking alcohol as part of a challenge, and
Yeah.
I did that for 75 days. And at the end of that 75 days, I felt so good that I continued drinking. Sorry, not drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how that would go.
Yeah.
And I'm 18 months now without drinking anything, and I think I'm probably not going to drink again. I think I've made that decision, but it's kind of
Yeah.
one of these things. It's a hard one to keep going, because there's so much drinking in our society that is there. That's do you want to go for a drink, to have some drinks after work? Do you want to do this? And it's you go to a wedding and there's raising champagne glasses and all those things, which make it socially really hard to go against that. But for me, the reduction that alcohol's allowed me to do, um, you know, have more sleep, better sleep.
Mm.
I do more exercise now. I'm sort of more focused on doing exercise because I don't drink as much.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's freed up a lot more of those weekends that I'd be in bed feeling groggy. I'm now with the kids doing stuff with the kids. So, everything, it's almost like a multiplier on everything that you've done, in the past. You're not doing all those bad things, you're doing more good, and it's doubling down on those good things. So for me, it's definitely a better way of living. But that's not to say that you don't have to give up alcohol. I think probably most people could just reduce it, and that would help, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's really up to the individual. Like, is it really impacting your life? And but so as you know, my husband he hasn't drunk. I think he's
Yeah,
up to 6 years now.
that's
So
awesome.
it's been a really big game changer. And yeah, I think it's just. I mean, I think most of society, as you said, really could do with could do with sort of thinking about the intake of alcohol. But if it's not impacting your life in that way and you don't feel like changing it, well, that's fine. But yeah, once you start to realize that it is actually poison, and it
Yeah,
does not only poison your body, but it does actually poison the what you want to get out in life. And um, it's really hard to stop doing something that's so ingrained in our nature and in our society. But
that's
I
right.
think what's helped my husband is he's identifies now as a non-drinker. He's like, oh, I don't drink, and so it's just it's not, yeah, it's sort of a habit that he started, and now it just has become him. And that's, I guess, the essence of habits. You start really small, you do this tiny habit, and then before you know it, it's like, well, I am that person. It's like starting with exercise. You're like, oh, I'm not a runner. But if you start to do a little bit of running every day, you then realize, oh, I'm someone who runs, and so, yeah, it's now just
Totally.
identifying as, no, I'm just someone who chooses to, get more get more out of life because I'm able to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found there's a big sort of it's almost like a relief of for me lifting, that I don't need to go somewhere and take alcoholic drinks, or I don't need to buy alcoholic drinks. Like there's like an anxiety that's, I guess, present when you're drinking, about what you're going to drink, how you're going to drink it, where you're going to drink it, how much you're going to drink, and all that stuff. It's almost like a freeing thing when you don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
And that was something I was expecting, but all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'll just go there and I'll just be me, and I don't need to worry about anything. And the more time that goes on and situations you come into, that it becomes easier to do.
Yeah.
The things that I was really worried about before giving up alcohol was how I'd deal with certain events like weddings, where you're going to cheers people with a glass of champagne, and what I do, because I'm not drinking. But
Yeah.
then when you go and do a wedding, and you kind of go, oh, I'll just have the glass of champagne and I'll just raise it to toast it, but I just won't drink it. And so you kind
Yeah.
of do all these little things to get around these social situations which you're used to doing, and where yeah, you can, and then you go, oh, that's how you manage that situation. And then you kind of, as time goes on, you get all these little sort of things where you manage them, what you say about how you drink. Sometimes you don't want to talk about how you don't drink anymore and blah blah, you don't want to just, it's not that kind of conversation you want to have. And so you kind of learn to get around those conversations without going, oh, I don't drink, and go into sort of that kind of conversation.
And I find, just sort of being the observer, I found the more accepting my husband is of it, and the more like he has just grown to be like, no, I just don't drink. The acceptance levels of other people, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And I often find people like, that's really cool. That's really cool. Rather than, I think we were worried at the beginning stages that, oh, nobody will invite us out anymore because we're no longer like the fun couple.
Yeah,
We wouldn't have any friends, but I
that's right.
think it's really just, yeah, people just accept it. And if you're comfortable with your decisions, I think other people are just like, okay, cool. And they respect it.
Exactly. And it shows who your friends are as well, the people that still invite you out because you're not drinking, because you are who you are, rather than, you're not going to get blind with us kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. It has been a bit of a shift, which has been interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
but well, thanks for sharing that. I've had another conversation with someone actually who, yeah, after lockdown, they were like, right, I'm gonna cull this, and she saw some really interesting benefits. So maybe we've inspired other people to give it a bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's definitely worth a try for a period and see how you go.
yeah, and there's help out there as well. Lots of support if you need extra support with that. So
Yeah.
um Oh, very cool. So was there anything else that you wanted to chat about in terms of things that wellbeing habits that kind of help you stay? I remember talking to you about, I'm going to add something for you.
Yeah. I've got a few extra, but
Oh
I
yeah,
wanted to keep it short, but by all
I
means,
know. I do go on.
no. By all means, let me.
There was a journal. Did you say journaling or gratitude? Did you say you did that? Was that you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
journaling. I have been inconsistent on this at the time,
Yeah.
because I think it's all to do with habits. I've got really involved with habits. I think, like doing exercise and sleep and all these things, they're all based on habits that compound, and they get easier the more you do them. So I've gone in and out of doing things like journaling and meditating and things. I've layered myself with almost too many habits to do at one time, and then it's almost not manageable, because something's got to give, unless you really kind of get a good system down, which you can maintain every day. And that system normally starts if you go to bed at 9 o'clock, 20 past 9. Then you give yourself that morning sort of hour and a half before the kids wake up, that you can then go and do these things. So if I do get up at 5, then I do my exercise, then I do a journal, then I do gratification, and then I work out what I'm doing that day based on my sort of tasks from the previous days. And and that really does help keep you on focus if you've got lots of goals in business or your life, whatever they are. So that's definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
but yeah, I think it
notice?
comes back to the sleep thing really, because the sleep gives you that time. Whereas if you wake up late, you're just on the back foot the whole day through.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's the easiest. It's the easy, like the easiest win is to have that good sleep, but it's almost the hardest thing to do
It
sometimes.
is. It is. There's the discipline. The discipline to go to bed early
Yeah.
is the hardest thing, because if you go to bed late, you're up late, and
Yeah.
then if you're up early but you've gone to bed late, then you're less sleep, and then that's detrimental. So it really does come down to that. And when I listened to your one of your other podcasts that you did, you said that it's actually one step further back from that, which I thought was really good, was actually getting your kids fed at dinner time, so that
Yeah.
then creates their schedule to get them to bed
Yeah.
at the time they need to go to bed, because they've
Yeah.
had the dinner at the right time. And so then that's actually the sort of the precursor to you going to bed on time, because if you get your kids bed to late, then you need that sort of your husband wife time
Yeah.
before you go to bed. So
Yeah.
actually it's the 9:20 o'clock thing that I've got in my head. Actually, probably I need to take your advice there and go back to the you
Yeah.
know kids in bed before 7:30, asleep, so that we've got that sort of 2 hours of
Yeah.
sort of adult time to just talk and relax and everything, because you need that at the end of the day to unwind and to you know
Yeah, I mean,
be
you
when
become
your
shit
wife or
tired
husband.
otherwise, don't you? But
Yeah,
I actually, and even it's sort of, it comes back to that decision making around, right, how many activities are they going to be doing? How many play dates? How many, because um, when you're picking up your kid from after school care at 6 p.m.,
yeah.
which sometimes we have to do,
Mhm.
that just then, dinner's on the table a bit later. The kids are ratty and tired and they're not eating properly. And then,
Yeah,
it does, it, modern life and working and trying to fit it all in, it does make it really hard.
for
But yeah,
sure.
consciously choosing, okay, when are the down days? When are the more frantic days? And yeah, what's our ability? What's our reality? And what do we choose to do? But it does start, for me, it definitely starts with the kids and getting them
Yeah,
locked away.
yeah. Good
Locked away.
advice. Great advice. I'm going to try that.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Well, okay. So excellent. Basically, it all revolves around sleep and having that beautiful exercise in the morning where you can set yourself up, hopefully having that journaling and gratitude practice if all going well, and that decision around alcohol and really getting a bit more bang for your buck in life without that
Sorry.
drinking. So okay, well, thank you so much. And we're going to finish on just talking about a little ritual that your little family has. What might be a little tradition that stabilizes your kids and helps them feel like they belong?
Um, this is a hard one actually, because I was speaking to my wife Karina last night about this, about our traditions, and we kind of came to the conclusion we probably don't have enough little traditions that we do sort of consistently, because we've got a few things, but they're not probably consistent. Um, I guess I think the one thing that we've struggled with the kids in the mornings is their routine of getting them ready and getting them ready for school and making it fun. And it's
Uh-huh.
sometimes it feels like you're sort of, everything's against you about getting them out the door and getting them to school. And you felt
Yeah.
like when you've gone to school, it's kind of like you've just finished like World War III or
Yeah, I
something.
know.
You're just like, I come to my office and I sit here and I'm like, geez, that was a hard morning.
It's like
So
you've run a marathon and then you have to front up for the second shift, isn't it?
yeah, so one of the things I came up with one evening when I was thinking about it was I'm going to make tomorrow morning fun at breakfast, and I'm going to make that something which is week as my go-to. And
Yeah.
so I think I went and did I think the first time I did French Dad. I thought I'd go and do French Dad for breakfast. So I went and bought
Yeah.
some croissants, and I came back and I put some French music on, and I started talking with a very bad French accent, and basically became French Dad for the morning. And the kids, when they first saw, they just looked at me wide eyed like, who's this maniac here? And I was like, this is French Dad. I'm doing the croissants. And so then they
I
they
totally would
loved
have
it.
come to breakfast, Chris. I love it.
So that was, and because that worked so well, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this French Dad thing, not all the time, because I think there's a
Yeah.
point where it gets overused. But then
Yeah.
it became like a weekly thing. And then I was thinking, do you know what? I could be another type of dad. I'll do American Dad, and I'll do pancakes or waffles. And
Yeah.
so now I do American Dad, and
Yeah.
he's like this big sort of like loud character that comes in and is like, we're gonna do American waffles today, blah blah blah. And the kids, they love it, and they're like, Dad, can we have American Dad tomorrow? So like, and anyway, so we now do like waffles quite sort of at least a week, every week in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
French Dad turns up occasionally, and it really kind of gets the kids on a different level from just the like routine of like putting them some bran flakes and sultanas in front of them and doing
Yeah.
their breakfast. It's kind of like it's like almost like a pattern interrupt that
Yeah.
keeps them, like sort of yeah, it definitely works, and everyone gets waffles out of it, and it kind of makes it entertaining. And it's not necessarily like a Saturday or Sunday thing. It's often like just a random Wednesday or a Tuesday or something that kind of, I guess, just comes out of I can see how the kids are if they're tired or something. Then it kind of it brings them up to the level where they're like, okay, cool, we've had waffles and this has been a fun activity thing.
Humor is such an easy thing, especially with young kids. It is
It
such an
is,
easy thing to kind of, but I guess we're so serious in our lives that we kind of forget it, which is, I don't know if you've heard of my Karma Parent Wellbeing model, but enjoyment is one of the key pillars of the model. And I think it's because kids, they're so innately like driven to have fun and enjoy something. And I think as adults, we just get so serious. And life's there to enjoy. It's there to have fun. It's one of my core values. Where's the joy in this? And with joy comes so much creativity, comes so much expansion. And I love that you're inserting some joy and enjoyment and surprise factor as well for the kids in the morning. It's fun for you too, right?
It is fun. It's fun for everyone, and it's kind of we put American music on, all that kind of stuff, and it makes it like, just a normal Tuesday morning gets sort of elevated up to, like a fun morning, and then everything kind of gets better from there. And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really cool. Has
So
the English Dad come out, or is that just standard?
English Dad, yeah. I don't know. I feel really bad for English Dad because he kind of I say as American Dad, I'm like, English Dad sucks. And then they're like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, what kind of food does it was English Dad do? And they're like, oh, he's good. He does good food. And they kind of stand up for English Dad. So it is funny. Yeah, English Dad doesn't really do much food. I don't know. The English foods, I don't know. It's easy just to do French or American, I
Yeah,
guess. But maybe
yeah,
I should do I should do an English fried breakfast. Bit more
yeah,
hassle. But there
yeah.
you go. There's
Hash
another
browns.
one. English Dad. I'll do proper
English
English Dad.
Dad. Yeah, and then you could be confused Australian Dad too.
Australian Dad, yeah. Just do a sausage sizzle.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for spending the time to chat with us today. There's heaps of amazing things that you're doing, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you. See ya.